Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Review.
Santa Monica was a game I heard a little bit of advertising about, and there was a little bit of hubbub before the release of it. And I kept looking at it, and I was like, I don't know about this game. You know, the theme is different, and it kind of attracted me with the Santa Monica theme on it. But I was like, you know what? I've been tricked on these games before, a little bit too much hype at the beginning. So anyway, I went ahead and pre-ordered it and got Santa Monica, and I got it from my local store. And boy, did I like this game. At its heart, it's a very simple, light game. You're drafting cards, and you're playing those cards down into your tableau. Maximum, you're going to have 14 cards in the game, and you score points based on how you build this tableau in front of you. But I was really, really impressed with this game. The decisions were interesting. They were hard about how I wanted to do things, and you're moving these people around on the pier also to score more points. And I felt like it was a really fun little light game. I liked the drafting in it. I liked playing against other people. I liked looking at my pier when I was done. But most of all, I liked there's a different theme on this game. It's not the same old boring thing that I'm seeing all the time. I got interesting decisions without overwhelming me. So this isn't one of those heavy Euros that you're going to get into. Instead, this is a game I could probably play with anybody willing to take a leap after Ticket to Ride. So if you're willing to say, I'm going to invest a little bit in a gateway game, this is something you definitely could dive into and enjoy immensely. It's also a little thing where I would draft cards, not necessarily because I wanted to play them down, but because you play those cards, that's how I can move the people around on the board. And that was a very interesting little wrinkle to the game. The length of the game was about perfect to me also. So many times I'll be playing a game and I feel like it's a little too short, a little too long, mostly too long. Although I do like long games, it's just sometimes I feel like they drag on a little bit. Or I played games where I was like, man, I want another round. Not because I want to score more points, which I do, but I'm having fun and I want more of that fun. And this game I feel like was about perfect, and it's rare. It's very rare. But the game had about the perfect length to it. I really enjoyed this one. Now this one was a huge surprise to me. I wasn't expecting to like the game as much as I did. I ended up rating this about an 8 on BGG, and with some more plays, I can see it's going up to maybe an 8.5. I liked it that much. The look of it, the pastel colors, it just reminded me of Santa Monica Pier, and I really had a good time playing it. Decisions were good. The look of it was good. It's a really good package. I can tell you, if this sounds interesting to you at all, this is one you need to check out, and it's a definite keeper! Here at Santa Monica by AEG, you can see a beautiful cover here. I like this quite a bit. A look at the pier here that you'll be, and the beats that you'll be building as you progress through the game. You're going to get a rule book, which we'll take a look at as we always do in a few moments. And then you can see the different components you're going to have here. You're going to have a scoring pad that you'll be able to utilize. You're going to have these little red, blue, and you can see little green people in here with the footprints. These footprints are cardboard, but the rest of these are meeples. And these have sunglasses on them. These guys have cameras on them. The VIPs don't have anything on them. The sand dollars are going to be little wooden spots with decorations on them. You're going to have a food truck and foodies and some tokens here. You have a few of these sand dollars that kind of mix the game up and have different ways you can spend the money as you go through. You're going to have some cards. The cards are actually fairly good quality. I like the artwork on them. The icons are very easy to see and very easy to use on them. You're going to have to memorize some of these icons. They're a little tricky at first, but you can see the artwork and how they kind of build off each other. It has a really quaint look to some of this artwork in here. And then you're going to have these, and these are really nice cardboard. These could have been cheap cards, and they're not. And these are different scoring mechanisms that you have throughout the game. And you're going to have these starter boards that you have. They're all a little bit different, double-sided, and they have different buildings on them, different markings here and stuff you can see. They look really cool, and they're very good quality. Everything in this box is very good quality. No custom insert, boo, but it is what it is. Here's the rules for Santa Monica. This is one of those big square rule books that you have. You're going to have a picture of all the components over here, and you're going to have setup over here with a picture of kind of how things are set up. You can see right here, you're going to have a game overview. There's only 3 actions you're going to take in a turn, and then you can see the breakdown of the pictures and kind of how everything's work. You're going to take the placement actions. This will be what you're doing, and then you refresh the display. And the end of the game, I didn't like this part of it. The scoring thing was very confusing to me. I wasn't really sure with the scoring. I'm still not really. I know how to score the game, but I didn't know what all of these spots meant. There was no explanation of the scoring pad, which was kind of a downer. But this is really where the scoring is at, although it makes it look like it's over here. And then you have the dollars and all the extra buildings, everything kind of explained through here. And at the back page is the credits. This could have been a nice place for a reference sheet. It's not. Instead, you're going to get reference cards that you'll have during the game, like this, that will have the different icons on them. Everybody will get one of these, and a reference sheet to what the icons mean. This isn't as useful. This side is much more useful during the game. So the rules are okay. I was able to get through with it. Once I started moving pieces around, I kind of saw how they fit together. That scoring section I really didn't like, but that's the only thing. Otherwise, it probably gets a 7 out of a 10. So there's a few things I want to explain to you before I show you exactly how a turn works. And this you're going to always have 8 cards that are available for you to draft. Now the bottom 4 cards, these 4 are the ones you can always take on a turn. This will be an action. So if you take this card, then at the end of the round, this will come down and a new card will come out. So if I were to take this card and draft it, at the end of the turn, this one will come out and a new card will come up. So this always tells you what's available, in the future, and kind of you can plan for that, or maybe you don't want to take this card because somebody might want this card, etc. So you're always drafting from this and not that. Now there are ways in the game for you to be able to take cards from the top row. Specifically, I'll go into those. But for the generally speaking, when you take a card, you take one off the top 4, this shifts down at the end of the turn, and a new card would come out. So if you understand that, let's move on to how the game works. So these are the sand dollar things you'll have. In each game, they're all double-sided, do different things, and you'll be able to choose 2 of these that will be down for the turn. I'll come back to these when I explain a turn, but just know there are really 8. There's 4 of these with double-sided that you can choose from to kind of shake things up as you're playing. Each player will start out with one of these starting tiles, and there's a whole bunch to choose from, and they're all double-sided. So I'm just going to throw a couple out and kind of show you how they work. So down here at the bottom will be what you get. So if you got this one, you would get 1 VIP and 1 sand dollar. This one you get 1 VIP and 2 orange people. This one you get 2 VIPs. You also have little markers on here that you'll be using these icons. This one doesn't have any. This one has a pink and a blue, and this one has a pink. You also have scoring that you'll have at the end of the game. So this one gives you a lot of people, but it scores a victory point for every pink and orange you're able to visit during the game. This one gives you a victory point for each wave and yellow volleyball that you're able to visit during the game. This one gives you for every pink and blue. One of the more interesting ones is this one, where it gives you a victory for each beach that you visit. So I'll explain how those scores will go on, but you'll take one of these and you'll kind of score points for that as the game continues. Now I'm going to put all this in view just so you can easily see it. So I'm going to move this out of the way and I'm going to put these cards back out. And let's say this is the starting setup of the game. So on your turn, you can do one of 2 things to start out with in phase 1. So I could take one of these 4 cards as I showed you earlier, and I could add it to my display. So when you're adding a card to display, you're going to have your city. Now, whenever you add something, you're going to have to add it beside a card that's already out or your starting location. So beach cards go up here where the water is. If you were to take a boardwalk card, it would come down here so the sides match. So it would look something like this if I had 2 cards, or I could maybe go on this side of it also if I wanted to, as long as the beach. I could not put a boardwalk card up there, and I couldn't put a beach card down here. It kind of makes sense when you look at it. The water's across the top, and the boardwalk is across the bottom. So that's one possible action I have, is to take a card like that. Or, if I didn't want to take that card, and I had some sand dollars that I wanted to use, let's say like these, then I could spin these sand dollars. So this says, pay 2 sand dollars and take a icon from anywhere. So as long as a card had one of those icons, I could take it from anywhere. This says pay 3 sand dollars, take 1 card from the back. So I could take a card from the back row. So I give up my 3 sand dollars. Instead of choosing one from the front, I could take one from the back and add it to my tableau. Then I would get to move anybody I can move any 4 people 1 space. I'll kind of show you how that works in just a moment. So that's the first thing I can do, is either I can take a card from the bottom row, or I could spend my sand dollars, possibly taking them from some other place or getting multiple cards. Some of these will allow you to have, take 1 card from the front, swap 2 cards in your city, so you can move them around. Take 1 card from the front and the card behind it. So you get 2 cards for the price of 4. So these will let you do different things, but obviously the sand dollars are going to be limited, so the majority of the time you'll just be drafting a card from this row. The second thing you'll do in your turn is you'll start, when the drafted card you have, you start placing it down. So let me just show you a couple things that you might have here.
set up. And let's say the game kind of progresses like this as you're going through it, and you kind of get set up like this. Maybe this would be something that would be built over time. Now, if there's ever 14 cards set up, the game will end, and then everybody will score for the end of the game. So let's say this is your boardwalk. So let's say I drafted this card, this turn, I could maybe place it there, or I could place it here. So let me go over a few things. So when the game starts, you're going to have a VIP. That's going to be right here. So as things allow you to move people, remember I said this right here would allow you to move any 4 people on the board one space. I'm going to show you an example how this could happen. So with him, let's say he moved over here, the VIP, these guys work a little bit differently than other people. They leave a footprint behind wherever they go. So let's say he was able to move up here some. I would put a footprint on each space that I leave. Now this is super important. So let's say he was able to move over here and put another footprint down as he moved. This is important for this particular board because he's going to score 1 victory point for each beach visited. That's going to mean the cards that the VIP goes to, because you want to make sure he visits the most lucrative places for whatever your hotel or whatever resort is selling. So that's a really good thing for him to do. So at the end of the game, 1, 2, 3 beaches have been visited. This is not a beach, right? This is the boardwalk. So I would get 3 additional victory points at the end of the game for that. In addition, you can have these blue and these orange guys moving around. The orange ones are tourists and the blue ones are locals. And if you look here on this card, you're trying to get exactly 2 orange people to this. At the end of the game will be 4. And you always see it has like this little dotted line between it. So if I were able to get, let's say that 4 movement again. Let's say I use that 4 movement again. I'm able to move 4 people. And he was able to get his way over here. And I get 2 of these guys over here. That would score me points. Now hitting this one, I just have to have 3 people there in order to score. I'm sorry, 1 person there to score 3 victory points, but it can be any color. So maybe I'll try to get that guy there. If I have 2, well, that's not 1, right? So this one will say have 1 person. Can be blue, green, or orange, and it's worth 2 victory points. So that's kind of how that movement will work. Now these cards will also have icons on it like this at the bottom. So this tells me if there is a building with a sunglass, blue sunglass on it, I'm going to get 2 victory points. So what I might look for in the deck is a beach card, or let's say a card like this. Had I built this card over there, see it has that blue icon right there? If I had placed this there, then that would be worth 2 victory points at the end of the game. And you might have something like this that wants 2 blues by it. So it has to have 2 blue icons. So something like this, if you got him in, there's a blue icon here. There's a blue icon here. So that would be worth 5 victory points. So there'll be some placement things when you're putting them down, wanting to maximize the number of points that you have. Then you'll also have cards like this that are called chains. And you just want to have a chain. That means orthogonally adjacent to it in a row that you'll be able to have 5 victory points. So you want to have chain to it. It doesn't necessarily have to be adjacent to it, but it has to be in a row. So let's say you were right here. Then you would have 1, 2, 3 in this chain. That would be worth 5 victory points. So you want to have 3, at least 3 in that chain in order to score those points. So that might be something else that goes into your decision as you're playing the cards. So let's take a look at this card. So when I take this card, it will give me 2 orange people. So I would be able to just, let's say these 2 orange weren't there. I'd be able to place 2 orange people on here, and I would score these victory points on the right of it at the end of the game if I meet the criteria. So a lot of the game is trying to get movement points to move these guys around the board, because they can be worth negative points if they're not in these locations right here. Or this location won't be worth any points if I don't get anybody there, depending on the end of the game scoring. So at the end of the game, you're going to score points for these bonuses that I described, having people in certain locations. And at the beginning of the game, you're going to have one of these set out. So let's look at this. So 2 victory points per wave in your longest wave group. So there'll be cards that have wave icons on them. Like this. This has a wave icon. So you're going to score 2 points for each one in your longest group. And then this was more important. I want to point this out. So player with the most unplaced people gets -4. So once again, it's talking about people that aren't on these dotted circles. So it behooves you to not only score the points to get there, but it can also be negative if certain scoring things are out for not being there. So and you have a whole bunch of these that you can do. They're all a little bit different. Score each wave group, 1, 3, 6, 10, whether you have 1, 2, 3, or 4 of them. 1 victory point for each filled circle, and -1 for every 2 unplaced people. So these can kind of change up the game and how you're playing it. So quickly, let me clarify what's going to happen during the game. So On a player's turn, you're going to be able to choose one of these 4 cards on the bottom to place into your city. Or you could utilize one of these powers that are up, spend the sand dollars, and get the ability on it. Then you'll take your city, whatever you're doing, and you will build it. You will get the goodies on the left, knowing that the goodies on the right will score at the end of the victory points if you meet the condition. Then the card up here will come down, and you will add another card to the top. Then it'll be the next player's turn. When there are 14 cards played in a town, no matter whose it is, it won't necessarily be the first player, because some of these are going to allow you to play multiple cards. 14 cards ends the game. Whoever has the most victory points is your winner.
Who should buy this game? Anybody looking for a light, that just normal board game length. About an hour, you have a really good time, there's some card drafting. It's an icon fest, so there's some different icons that you kind of have to master as you're going through it. But boy, did I have a good time with this one. Was it a great surprise? Yes. And it's absolutely a favorite for me. I really like this one. I have no problem bringing this out. I see it on the shelf. I have happy thoughts, and I want to play it. Fantastic purchase. Glad I got it. One you should check out. Absolute keeper.